Hello and welcome to News Laundry Interviews. We have with us today Radhika Vaz.
Yes.
Hi Radhika. Radhika is a stand-up comic. Those of you who follow comedy have probably heard of her. You write columns for the Times of India and you have recently written this book, a memoir by Radhika Vaz, a story of your life. And Unladylike,
That's the name of the book. Unladylike is the official title.
Okay, also that's the title of your first stand-up act.
Of my show, yeah.
Also, you're slurring because you're drunk in the morning.
I'm drunk. I wake up and I shoot alcohol directly into my face. I had a dental appointment and I have more anesthesia in my face than a woman gets when she's giving birth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why...
Which is why I like this particular dentist.
Okay.
I can't feel my face right now, so I have no concept of what my mouth is doing.
Okay, and is there any swelling?
It doesn't look like there is.
No, not really.
Right?
Okay.
But it feels weird.
Okay.
I've lost all sensation on the right side of my face. But
Anyway.
since it's you, and not anyone more attractive, I didn't really care.
Now that I hear all the time. Dear, you are unforgiving, Radhika, and that is why I think your show gets spoken about so much. Let's plug your book first.
Let's plug
That's
the book.
Unladylike.
Yes, buy
Available
it.
on
Amazon.in, Flipkart, and select stores around your city.
Okay, we got that. So I haven't read the whole thing. I've read bits, and I find it extremely interesting. I'll quote a bit from it for our audience. But my first question is,
Yes.
I've seen your act, and I've read much of your book. It shocks in the sense that your act definitely does. You know, a lot of people who are expecting like comedy will come and be shocked at the explicit nature of what you describe. It's brutally honest.
Yes.
Do you get that a lot? Are you aware of it?
I choose to block it out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm mad. I'm not taking my medication anymore, so I don't care. I think that's the thing though with comedy, right? Like the moment you start caring and worrying about a reaction or wanting a particular reaction, you can't do that. You kind of have to just write what you understand, what you believe in, what you think is funny.
Right.
And then whatever the reactions are, they're the reactions.
But are you aware of it?
I'm aware of it.
But it doesn't bother you that
It doesn't
it doesn't make you
bother me.
self-conscious?
No.
Okay.
It's all I've got.
Okay.
If I had less jarring jokes, I'd make them.
Okay, so you said that, you know, most comics or humorists have a theme that they focus on.
Yeah.
And it comes from the heart, at least honest comedy does.
Yeah.
If you're not self-conscious and you're trying to be funny, but you're just making a point satirically.
Yes.
Yours is a lot about gender.
Yes.
In fact, it's all about gender.
Pretty much.
Even your book, much of it is just
It is. It's
about
called
gender.
Unladylike to begin with.
Yeah. Why? Why is that so close to your heart?
I think it bothers me the most. I'm most bothered by the disparity of how men and women are treated in India before they're even born.
Okay.
I mean, female infanticide still a problem. So all I'm saying is that we're not given our due. And
that's the number one thing on your
that
mind,
just
which
really
manifests itself in your writing.
It does, yeah, it totally does. It's the first thing that'll occur to me no matter what I'm looking at. So like the Sunny Leone interview with Bhupendra Chaubey, I mean, she's now a feminist icon as far as I'm concerned. The way she handled that whole thing, and really she spat back at the guy because he wanted her to be ashamed of her past. I don't know, maybe a male porn star, he would have gone after them as hard. I don't know, but I think we're more forgiving of men in general when it comes to many things.
I don't think guys know any male porn star by name.
They don't.
No.
No, they don't. I don't think most straight guys would focus on that.
So, but you grew up in Bangalore.
No, I grew up in the Air Force. So my dad was in the Air Force. My parents live in Bangalore now, so that's why I go there a lot. But my dad was in the Air Force, so I grew up in the Air Force. Yeah.
But you spent your youth in New York, a lot of it.
I'll tell you what I did. So my dad was in the Air Force. I went to boarding school. Then I spent a few years in Bangalore. I would say I spent my early 20s there. After college in Bombay, early 20s in Bangalore. Then I went to Chennai for a couple of years. And then I went to the States in my late 20s.
Right. Now, And then now you're in Gurgaon, Haryana.
And now I shuttle between Gurgaon and Bombay.
Now, how big a culture shock has it been, New York to Gurgaon?
New York to Gurgaon is a culture shock. Bangalore to Gurgaon would be a culture shock.
Okay.
I think Delhi to Gurgaon might be a culture shock to some people.
Okay. No, but I'll tell you why I ask. Because since you did your career as a humorist,
yes,
was basically in New York is when it kicked off.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing there the gender dynamic isn't, or your gender identity isn't, it's not as unfriendly.
It's not as pronounced. It's not as pronounced, but I do think, like a little thing, like I'll tell you, I was surprised in New York City. I talked to these young girls who were like all in their early 20s. They were all getting engaged. They all wanted to get married because that's one of those gender things that women are supposed to do.
Yeah, you've spoken about that actually in your book as well, that you know, women are supposed to want to get married.
We're supposed to want it.
And supposed to want to have children. I'll just quote, in fact, you know, motherhood has always been a big deal. Back in the day, it was sanctified. Today, it is straight up glamorized. Even Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston's husband, endorsed this point of view ages ago in an interview that I read. My beloved People magazine, Angie said she became a woman only after she adopted Maddox in Cambodia. And you've said that women are made to believe that you're not complete unless you're a mother.
Yeah.
And you completely reject that.
I'm a complete woman.
And you have no intentions of having
kids. You can't tell by looking at me. Today I wore a skirt for Niku's benefit, but just in case there's any confusion coming in. Like there's a guy out here for an interview, Niku. I didn't want anyone to say that in the office. But yeah, I mean, I completely reject that. Okay. Completely, yeah, totally.
But why do you think it is so
patriarchy? They want us bare feet and pregnant and not having an opinion, just worrying about children.
Okay, I'll just we'll come back to your comedy and gender. But I will just go into what Christopher Hitchens wrote in Vanity Fair in 2007. Are you familiar with that piece?
Yeah, I'm familiar, but read it for the sake of anyone.
I'm sure you are. Well, Christopher Hitchens wrote a piece in 2007. In fact, the backlash was so bad that Vanity Fair took the piece down.
Oh, they did?
And it's still not up.
Ah, good.
Whereas Alessandra Stanley, I hope I got that correct, who's an American journalist, she wrote a rebuttal to that.
Oh, she did, okay.
Which they have carried.
Left, all right.
And his rebuttal to her rebuttal is there, but his original piece is not there.
Okay.
Now, just for our viewers, he makes his hypothesis, his contention is that women aren't that funny. He doesn't say that no women are funny. He says there's some very talented women comedians, but women aren't funny, and gives an evolutionary reason behind it, that women don't need to be funny because men generally are unattractive and most men are unattractive and they need something to turn a girl on. In fact, I'll quote from his interview. He says, for most men, if they can't make women laugh, they are out of the evolutionary contest. They are never going to get laid. Most men are fantastically unattractive. What women see in them is mysterious to both men as well as most women. If you can't make them laugh, you don't stand a chance. With women, there is no need to be rendering yourself attractive to men. In that way, we already find you attractive. Thanks. Now, I must be honest. I've read his piece, I saw his interview. I tend to sometimes kind of see what he's saying. He's
a very smart guy, and he's made a very he's boiled his argument down. It's very tight. I mean, it's hard to. I completely agree with you. As a woman, I'm sitting here listening to you read, and I'm like, kind of has a point.
And also, Alessandra Stanley's rebut was, and for our viewers, you can read the original piece under this interview. The links are there. His interview, the rebut to his piece, and his rebut to the rebut. You can read all that so you get context. Also, it's a sign of aggression, humor. Yeah. So men need to like survive in a pack with the guys thing. And he says women are required just to be an audience. And it's unfortunate, but I see what he's saying. Do you disagree?
I know, I completely see what he's saying. Because, for example, I had the nerve to come in here and tell you that the only reason I didn't care what I looked like today was because you were interviewing me. I can say that to you because you're a guy and you're going to laugh at it. So you're right. I think
you don't know, maybe I'm really hurt and it'll take me a while to get over that.
It may, but again, I don't care because you're a guy and you'll get over it. But you see where I'm coming from. It's like, even as a woman, I'm well aware that I am more likely to be able to make fun of a guy about the way he looks and get away with it than if I did that to a woman. In general, when men are together, they're like, dude, you're so ugly, dude, you're so fat, your dick small, or whatever the fuck, right? We don't say that shit to each other. And dick small, sometimes they tell other women, your dick's small. Or your dick's really big. Okay. But you know where I'm coming from, right? So it's unlikely. Even our fat friends, we're never going to tell them they're fat.
Yeah. Whereas you
guys are waiting for it. It's like even if the guy's not asking you what you think, you're telling him. So I think men and women are just raised very differently. And comedy itself goes against the grain of being a female, like he's pointed out. From an evolutionary standpoint, from a sociological standpoint, we're always told, little girls are trained to sit quietly, not make a scene. But you see their little brothers running up and down, behaving ridiculously, being smacked up by the parents, but continuing. The little girls realize early on in life that the quieter I am, the less of a scene I make, I'll be rewarded. And that's sort of...
not just by the parents, by society by in general. Because men do like an audience. And this also I can tell you as a guy, most men like to be holding forth while, the woman says, oh, he's so smart.
Exactly.
So guys have that expectation. And if you want to get ahead with...
the guys, you've got to not be aggressive and trying to get attention and all of the things a comedian's basically supposed to do. So I think he's right about the fact that, well, he's not right about the fact that women aren't funny in my opinion, but I can see why a lot of women aren't in comedy, and I think that's the reason why we think they're not funny.
I see. Okay, coming to how guys react.
Yeah.
I again may come across as an MCP to my viewers and to you, but that's
not to me because I know you well.
Thank you, Radhika. I know your husband well, Tarks.
I don't know him so well.
Okay. Whenever I see you perform or I read your blog or I read your book, pardon me, I think you're fantastic, you're great, but I'm always for Tarks not to react as an Indian man, because I don't know even one Indian man, and I don't exaggerate just for the fuck of it. I mean, I'm saying I don't know even one man who would be cool and who would be so, comfortable in his own skin and self-confident about his masculinity and I'm, tu naukar hai sale apni biwi ka, aur kaise, how dare she say this? The way you just go at him. Has he ever reached a point where he said, Rad, too far?
He beats me up on a regular basis. Every night I go home and I get slapped around. He's a judge, so you all know this is true. No, he's a smart guy, obviously.
Right.
And I think the one thing he does get more than anything else is that he's the stand-in for... He and my dad are essentially the stand-in for any time I need to say anything.
Also your dad, yeah.
And my dad. I think my second show I go after my dad way more than my husband, but it's not because it's him personally and it's not even my husband personally. I'm just trying to make a point about all men.
I get that, but
and I think he gets that. I think he gets that too, though.
But does the society around
him get that? No, they don't. A lot of people think I'm talking directly to him all the time.
But he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't care about them.
That's pretty cool,
It is pretty cool.
I think it's amazing.
It is amazing.
I think you're definitely awesome, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Behind, they say behind every successful man is a woman and shit. But
I stand firmly behind my husband, like a good Indian wife. No, it's true. I think that if you're a couple, look, if you're single and successful, that's great. But if you're a couple, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're in the field that I am in, which a lot of the time involves telling very personal stories,
right?
Whoever your partner is just going to have to be one of those rare people who can really handle it.
Who can handle it, absolutely. And he for sure can handle it.
And he for sure can.
Now you can also handle a lot. You've put up this photograph of yourself.
Where I look almost like you without a mustache.
That's right. That's
actually, there is a bit of mustache, let's be honest.
So it says
in the shadows.
Teen Rad, aka Anil Kapoor's hair double. You put these photographs of yours
that haircut, man.
You're so unself-conscious.
Yeah.
Are you really, or are you self-consciously unself-conscious? Because hard as I try to, take everything at face value, I do believe all of us at some level, even Bapu, was saying that the truth will set you free. Just say everything, my relationship with my, nieces and how I sleep and what I do. But at some level, everyone is like, you know, the kind of things you say about yourself.
Yeah.
Really, there's nothing that makes you say, oh shit.
Oh my God, I'm constantly cringing at my own stuff. In fact, right in the prologue, I say that reading back on what I wrote, I wish I could take the book back from the publisher and not print it. Because some of it's really just ridiculous. But
it's not ridiculous. I think it's great. But I think it's very unself-conscious.
Embarrassing for me. But I'm more interested in making people laugh and trying to make a point than worrying about how I come across. Like, I am just an instrument here that I can use for the sake of making people laugh. Okay. And I want to use everything about it. My face, my body, whatever it takes, my voice. And there's certain stories in there, and even the stuff in my show, I've gone past the point, you know. I am no longer truly self-conscious about it. Otherwise, I would have written it in. There are things that I'm still grappling with in my life that will come out maybe in the next show or the next book or the next video.
Good luck, Thakran.
Yeah, I know. Good luck, Thakran. Oh God, it's true. But that will come to light. But I think I need to also completely digest it and figure out what about it I want to say, and so on and so forth. So there is always that self-consciousness, but I keep trying to evolve beyond that because it's important to what I do.
Okay, last two questions I have. One is that you speak about how even the most feminist of women, including yourself,
yes,
when you're in love,
yes,
the feminism just goes out of the window.
We behave abominably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you use the word servile, but it's almost, you know,
servile.
It is servile. Okay,
it's kind of servile.
It is servile. You think? Why do you think that is? Because you're right. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Even the strongest and women who consider. In fact, many of them go to the other extreme to compensate for that civility in their personal life.
Yes.
Try to be, way feminist in their public life.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think we've been told that we have to sort of wait to be picked by a man. And if you look at the way marriage is it's such a stupid thing. Nobody should get married. The way marriage is designed is for the man to come and ask me to marry him. A woman going and asking a man is desperate and disgusting, and we would never do that. And so when the man finally comes and asks you, the object of your, and that's it. I think that's what it is. It's like we are so told that we have to wait there to be picked that the moment a guy shows any interest or we like the guy, then we put ourselves into that, we are waiting passively. And that passivity, I think, comes across as being servile, and it sort of snowballs from there into exactly.
There's a neediness. In fact, there's a full chapter on that in the book, more than a chapter actually.
Yeah.
Do you see?
In fact, one of the things I always say is that my fear of being alone, I couldn't tell the difference between being in love and the fear of being alone. Like, you would think love and fear are two easy enough things to tell the difference between. I couldn't.
Okay, you've lived in the US, you've
Yes.
lived in Bangalore, you've
Yes.
lived in Chennai, you've lived in Delhi and Gurgaon.
Yeah, not Delhi, but Gurgaon.
Gurgaon. And two things. Do you find this phenomenon everywhere in equal measure?
Oh yeah.
India, New York, LA, everywhere?
Anywhere.
It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
The empowered Western woman is a myth.
I mean, it's not a myth. There are many of them out there, and they're empowered in many different ways that maybe we are still not, and then we are empowered in many different ways that they are also. And it's all a question of degrees. But this one thing, this marriage thing, the marriage aspect of it, that is something that is so, we are hardwired to want this shit, and we will then do whatever we are told to deal with it. I grew my hair to get married.
Really? And you look like
hell on earth. I looked worse than that photograph, frankly. On my wedding day.
Okay, and what about the audiences in all these countries? Do they react differently or similarly to your show? Does your audience tell you anything about the city you're performing in?
Not really, because what happens, I think, with me also is that I do tend to draw a lot of women to my shows. And the moment I have a 60-40 female-male ratio in the audience, it's gangbusters. I mean, it doesn't matter where I am. The majority of the audience identifies almost 100% with everything. So it works out really well. Corporate shows are interesting because there,
it's all male.
It's mainly male. And that's always a little bit, that's when, and that again, by the way, is even in America. I've done some corporate shows there as well. And it's the same thing. It's a little bit the same thing. If you have more men in the room, they're like, what? What is she saying? We don't know what she's talking about.
How dare she?
How dare she?
Right. And do you see more women getting into comedy in India, or you think we're still far away from that?
I see it happening a little bit more. Like in Bombay, I go to a couple of open mics run by other comedians, and there are women there, but they're very shy and they're very underconfident. And I think, again, it's just like every other profession. The men have gone in there and taken over, and they've made their little, groups here and there, and it makes it a little bit scary, I think, for younger women to think that they're welcome or good enough to join the club. It's like any profession, though. At the starting point, it's all guys, and then slowly a couple of women will start to join, and then hopefully we give other women an opening. And I keep telling women this: the one great thing about comedy is it's not age sensitive. You don't have to be young, and you don't have to be pretty to be a comedian. You can be 60, 80, like so long as you're still breathing. If you have something to say, I think comedy is a great place to try it out.
Right.
But it's still, there aren't that many women, to answer your question.
And you have any favorites in both overseas and India comedy that you appreciate, that you think is valuable?
Sure. I mean, there's so many big names. I also tend to like a lot of comedians who are not always stand-up comedians, because I didn't start as a stand-up comedian, you know that, right? I did improv and stuff like that. So for me, I mean, even writers can be humorous. Let's just say that I'm influenced by so many different things. So David Sedaris is a favorite writer of mine in terms of short anecdotal essays that are about his, obviously about himself, his life, his family. I love that style of writing, and he's at the top of his game with that. So that's a person inspired me heavily to write the book. In terms of stand-up, Joan Rivers jumps to mind, because she really, I mean, she was relevant till she died. Like literally, she was in her 80s and she stayed relevant. She had a TV show in her 80s. Like, she was a big deal. And she really made it, I'm 43 now, and all these younger people in comedy, sometimes you look at them and think, fuck, I wish I had started at 25. But everyone's path is different. And looking at someone like Joan or Lisa Lampanelli, who's now in her 50s, and other comedians who are as old, it's a marathon. It's not about, like I said, it's not about how you look, it's about what you think and how you put it across. And so it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it's going to go on forever. And so having role models like that is very encouraging. In India, I pretty much follow all the women comedians. There are like 6 of us. So everybody from Neeti Palta, who's a local Delhi girl, to Aditi, Kaniz, Sonali Thakkar, Anu Menon, Sumukhi Suresh in Bangalore.
So you're plugging all the women?
I'm plugging all you bitches out there. And I don't even know some of the names, because I'm not, I haven't performed with all of them, but all the girls that I have. And there's a new bunch coming in now, but I think they've only been restricting themselves to open mics so far. So we'll start to see them hopefully in 2016.
Well, I hope we do see more women comedians, and women get funnier. As I'm sure evolution will make sure that they do. Yeah,
we'll get funnier publicly.
Because men are getting better looking.
Listen. Being a comedian for a woman is like, let me give you an analogy. It's like farting.
Okay, why?
We can't do it in public. If we want to fart in public, we have to pretend like we're taking a phone call, Nico. We can't do it here.
Even men can't.
But you guys can. You kind of can. It's funnier when a guy does it. It's not ladylike when a woman does it.
Right.
So it's the same thing with comedy. Slowly, we'll get used to farting in public.
Okay, on that encouraging note, I don't know whether to be afraid of the future or look forward to it. Thanks for coming. Pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure seeing you,
Good
my
luck
friend.
with your book.
Thank you.
Unladylike.
Yes.
And if I may say, Radhika, I think you are very ladylike, no matter what you may say.
Today is an exception to the rule. I sexed it up for you.
If you enjoyed that, click up here to support us and down here to subscribe. Be sure to check out our older episodes and the other stuff we do, like Can You Take It, I Agree, panel discussions, comics and animations, and much, much more.